Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed. I am Mrs. Rizzo. Bum, diddly, bum, bum, bum. Nice to have you back again. Yeah. It's still winter, isn't it, out there? Very, very cold. I invited some of my animal friends to visit today because the letter A is for what? Yeah, animals. Very good. Animals begins with A. And this is a story about animals. But before we do that story, do you remember yesterday we sang the song about our mittens? Yeah? Well, this story is about a mitten. And M is for mitten. I'll bet you knew that already, right? Want to sing my mitten song with me again? Are you ready? Thumb in the thumb hole, fingers all together. This is the song we sing in mitten weather. This is the song we sing in mitten weather. Thumbs in the thumb hole, fingers all together. Very good. And I have a story about a mitten today. Maybe you've heard this story before. It's a Ukrainian folk story. That means a folk story is a fairy tale, and a fairy tale is a pretend story, isn't it? It's not real. It didn't really happen, but it's a good pretend story. And it's from a country called the Ukraine. Maybe you've heard of that country before. And this story is an old Ukrainian folk story, and it's adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett, and she's a great artist, don't you think? She knows how to draw animals and people and really nice things. Let's begin. The Mitten is the name of this story. Can you imagine a story about a mitten? I wonder what it's going to be about. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. He lives in the Ukraine where the winters are very, very cold and they get a lot of snow there. And he wants to have his mittens made the same color as the snow, which is white, right? I wonder why. At first, his grandmother, he calls his grandmother Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. Why, if you drop one in the snow, she warned, you will never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them for him. She didn't think white mittens would be good because if he drops it in the snow, he might not see it, right? But she made them for him anyway because that's what he really wanted. After she finished, she said, "Now when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, and then I will look to make sure that you have your snow white mittens." So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Can you see that? It's hard to see that mitten because it's white and the snow is white. Yeah. He dropped it. Think he'll find it? Let's find out. Well, a mole, that's a little animal that lives under the ground, right? Got tired of tunneling along and discovered the mitten, and guess what he did? He burrowed inside. That means he went inside it. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. I don't know if you can see that little mole, can you? Moles like to burrow under the ground, but this time he burrowed inside of the mitten. I'm going to point to it and see if you can see. It's very, very small, very hard to see. So a little animal went inside, burrowed inside the mitten where it was nice and cozy and warm. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped by for a moment, and it was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled right inside, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, But when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. Can you see? Now the rabbit is going to slip in with the mole inside the mitten. Do you think there's room inside that mitten for a mole and a rabbit? Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for something to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself up. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled. It was getting crowded in there, wasn't it? But not being ones to argue with someone that's covered with prickles, because that's what a hedgehog has on it, right? Prickles. They made room for the hedgehog. So now how many animals are stuffed inside that mitten? Yeah, 3. Can you remember what they are? The mole, that's another M word. What else? The rabbit, and now the hedgehog is in there. Guess who comes along next? As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. And when he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. That means they complained. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, those are his sharp, sharp feet, right? They quickly let him in. Do you think there's room in that mitten for all those animals? Huh? How many are in there now? Do you remember? We have the mole, remember? The rabbit, the hedgehog, and now an owl. Yeah, here's my owl. Oh, wow, that mitten is really stretching now, isn't it? It's stretching. Well, things that are made of wool, like my sweater here, or these mittens, they're able to stretch, aren't they? Yeah, but I don't know if they can stretch for that many animals. Let's find out. Oh no, guess what? Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. Now a badger looks something like a raccoon. They don't live around here. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw his sharp diggers, they gave him the thumbs up. They let him come in, didn't they? How many animals are in there now? Yeah, 5, right? The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and now the badger. A lot of animals are stuffed into that mitten. Can you imagine? It's really getting all stretched out, isn't it? Guess who comes along next? It started to snow, but the animals were snug inside the mitten. And a fox came trotting by and stopped to investigate. Just the sight of that cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. So the fox poked his muzzle, that's his face, in. And when the mole and the rabbit and the hedgehog and the owl and the badger saw his shiny, sharp teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. So that mitten is really stretching now, isn't it? So many animals inside that mitten. You can't believe who came along next. Oh no, a great big bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one left to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in, and the animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? Not me. The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Do you think that bear is going to fit inside that mitten too? That mitten is really stretching, isn't it? Oh my. Along came a meadow mouse, a little mouse no bigger than an acorn. She wiggled into the one little space that was left, and she made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Can you see that? Can you see that little mouse sitting on top of the bear's big nose? Do you think that's a good place to be? That little tiny mouse? What do you think is going to happen next? The bear was tickled by the mouse's whiskers and gave an enormous sneeze. Achoo! The force of that sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered all the animals in every direction. That little mouse's whiskers made the bear sneeze. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, and it was flying up above the blue sky. Do you see it? He doesn't even know what happened, does he? He just found his mitten after all this time. How do you think this story is going to end? As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she noticed that he did still have 2 mittens. You think she was happy to see that he had 2 mittens? Well, this page doesn't have any words on it, but if you can look closely, you might see Baba looking at the 2 mittens and wondering why one of them was so big and the other one was so small. Can you guess why? Yeah, remember all those animals that went inside that mitten and stretched it out of shape? I don't know if it'll ever be small again, do you? Well, you know what? I'm going to look inside my little door here and see, because I see somebody hiding in there. We have all these animal friends here, right? They came to listen to the story. Some of them were in our story, but there's somebody peeking out from behind here. Maybe it's another animal that was in the story, do you think? Oh, look. It's the little mouse. It's the little mouse inside a little mitten. Isn't that cute? The little mouse. M is also for mouse, isn't it? Mouse and mitten. Yeah. Cute little mouse, isn't it? I think this mouse has a little wind-up toy on it. Let's see if we can make it work. I'm going to twist it and see what happens. Oh my goodness. Come on, mouse. Let's see you walk. One more. You like that little mouse? Yeah? Should we sing our mitten song one more time? Okay. Did you like that story? Yeah? I did too. Ready? Thumb in the thumb hole, fingers all together. This is the song we sing in mitten weather. This is the song we sing in mitten weather. Thumbs in the thumb hole, fingers all together. See you next time.